Shalom, friends. Parshat Vayishlach, our portion this week. The story of Jacob, Yaakov, wrestling with the angel and then meeting his twin brother Esau, who they have not seen each other for 20 years. The last time they saw each other, Esau wanted to kill him and he ran away. Yaakov ran away and has built himself a family and built himself a new life. And now comes the moment of homecoming. And I want to say the key word and theme I want to explore through the lens of the story and many commentaries on it is ambivalence. And how ambivalence is so hard, and yet it seems to me, what this whole saga of Yaakov and Esav is telling us, and it's a saga which is still playing out today, that we have to try and find a way to make our ambivalence holy and constructive and serving life, and helping us be better people and make a good contribution to the world. So let's look at the story. Yaakov, we're told, Rashi, our famous French medieval commentator, brings this, that Yaakov prepares in 3 ways for meeting his brother. He gives a gift. He sends many, many, many animals before him in wave after wave after wave, and he strategically has a gap between each wave so that he hopes the experience of receiving one, and then sometime later another gift, and then sometime later another gift. He hopes this experience of receiving those gifts will soften up Esav, will kindle Esav's rachamim, his compassion, his mercy. So that's step 1. He prays to the source of life. If it's a hard thing because we can't control, manipulate, see, hear. We can't push a button and make God do what we want God to do, but there's a opening there for a relationship. And very often it's only in moments of crisis and existential fear that we really appreciate how open that door is. My suggestion is we don't leave it till that point, that we try and cultivate that relationship. Someone spoke to me about this week and said, they want to cultivate that relationship. It's important to them. They recognize that they don't want it to only happen in times of acute crisis, which is very normal for a lot of us. But we can cultivate it at any time. So there's giving a gift, there's prayer, and then there's preparing for war. Yaakov prepares for war, specifically by splitting his camp into 2. And he says explicitly in the Torah, if this camp over here is attacked and, God forbid, wiped out, because he thinks Esau is coming to wipe him out, then the other camp will escape, hopefully, in that moment at least. Please God. So he's praying, he's preparing for war, and he's giving gifts. And when Esau actually approaches, Yaakov bows down 7 times as he goes towards his brother, which is so fascinating. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about how it's not only that Yaakov did all these things, but the Torah draws our attention to the fact that he's doing them all simultaneously. Because next to the description of all 3 things that he does, the Torah uses the word halayla, that night, to make it clear that this is all happening at the same time. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe draws our attention to his emotions and says, not only was Yaakov doing these things at the same time, he was feeling all the feelings of these 3 different approaches to the situation at the same time. It reminds me of one of my favorite teachings on Vayishlach, a parsha we'll get to in a few weeks' time, where Yehuda steps forward, he approaches Yosef. And at this point, similarly actually now to Yaakov and Esav, these brothers have been apart from each other a very long time, and Yehuda does not actually know who Yosef is. Yosef is this very powerful viceroy, second in command of the whole of the Egyptian empire. And Yehuda steps forward, Vayigash, he approaches, and the Midrash, our ancient rabbis say, he steps forward simultaneously in appeasement and reconciliation, to try and plead in a diplomatic way, also to pray to God, meaning he's trying to appease the person in front of him, but he's also trying to connect with the source of life. And thirdly, at the same time, he's threatening war. All at the same time, all in the same word, Vayigash. He approached, he drew close. The rabbis say it has all of these meanings bound up in it. And here too we see Yehuda's father, Judah's father, facing his long-lost brother. The same thing is going on. He's ready for war. He's ready for appeasement, diplomacy, reconciliation, and he's praying all at the same time. There's a beautiful teaching from the Kedushas Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bodichev, on Pashat Kitavo, where he brings a very important principle. We also see this in the Baal Shem Tov. It's very clearly put here by the Kedushas Levi in Kitavo. He says, on the side of Kedusha, which is connection to life and serving life and being healthy in our lives, when we are in that place, he says, we have all of the emotions, the midot, the character traits of the tree of life. They can all coexist at the same time. I can have expansive, loving flow, oneness, unity, loving kindness, chesed. I can have severity, boundaries, appropriateness, separation, gevura, all at the same time. And of course, that's actually how the tree of life works. None of them exist independently on their own. That is a distortion when anyone presents it that way. They always exist in interrelationship. And indeed, we need a healthy interrelationship of chesed, of that loving oneness, and that gevura, that severity. We need that to healthily come together to make the next step in the tree of life. Tiferet, harmony, beauty, also truth and compassion. So that's how the tree of life works, and the Kabbalists say that's how all of life works. Yaakov, incidentally, his quality in the tree of life is Tiferet, Rachamim, Emet. He is that harmony, that beauty, that truth, that compassion that comes from a healthy synthesis of Chesed and Gevura. But all of the qualities have to interrelate healthily for the outcome in any given moment, situation, organism, project, relationship, conversation, whatever it is that's happening. The tree of life says the outcome will be healthy if the input is healthy and interrelating healthily in a balanced way where there's enough of each quality relating with the others. So that's the side of Kedusha, of connection to life and serving life. The Kedushas Levi continues in that teaching in Kitavo, and he says, the other side, being destructive, being unhealthy, not serving ourselves, our better selves, not serving life, then the emotions, the character traits, the midot of the tree of life are isolated. Then we get obsessed, we get possessed by just one way of feeling or thinking or looking at the world. Of course, this is how people are susceptible to being manipulated, to propaganda. This is how whole societies, as we are living through right now, can be polarized, very largely by disinformation, by being manipulated, because they get obsessed and caught up in narratives that make them feel a certain way, and they don't leave space for the holy ambivalence. I want to come back to the theme, back to Yaakov facing his brother Esav, preparing for war, preparing for reconciliation and appeasement, and preparing to pray, and he does pray, all at the same time, all the different emotions there at the same time. That is hard, but that is life. Life forces us into these situations. We see one of the next things that happen in the Parsha after he meets Esav, and that story is done, is the very, very hard story of Dinah, who is taken and violated. Yaakov's daughter is taken and violated, and some of his sons react with brutal violence. And the whole story is full of ambivalence. It is not clear at any point. What the Torah is trying to tell us is one clear position. In fact, if it was clear, our commentaries would therefore clearly tell us exactly what they say, and that would be clear. But it's not. We have this amazing conversation going on for thousands of years with every possible different opinion being expressed because it's not clear. Of course, it seems certainly there are those who defend the actions of Shimon and Levi, who brutally slaughter the men of Shechem in response to that violation of their sister. There are those who defend them. Then in the Torah itself, Yaakov, when he's dying and he blesses all his sons, he doesn't really bless Shimon and Levi. He really gives them something more similar to a curse in a lot of respects. It's hard to say and hard to acknowledge, but that's the reality. And we see that conversation going down through the generations. By the way, also about the whole relationship of Yaakov and Esav, about Yaakov's whole story of how he got the birthright in the first place and how he acted, even though, yes, For a lot of the story, he was acting according to the instruction of his mother and doing the best he could. And even how he acted with Lavan, there's a lot of things that we can defend him with. We can say he was doing his best and people were trying to hurt him, so he was defending himself. There's also a lot of criticism, a lot of valid criticism, even in the prophets. They use the fact that we are the descendants of Yaakov, and that Yaakov's name, one of its meanings is deception. And they say, look, you guys, the children of Israel, you are liars and deceivers. When are you going to stop being like that? Holy ambivalence means all of these sides can exist at the same time, and we don't actually try to wrap it all up neatly in one easy formula. That's very hard. It's very hard to go through life with all of these feelings and all of these narratives open. But I really feel my sense coming back to the story year after year with our ancient rabbis, with our Hasidic rabbis. This is what they want from us. They want us to be able to hold how difficult life is. When tragedy happens, when there's conflict in a family or between peoples, these narratives are all there. We can't magically make them go away. So maybe we bring this into our practice and into our lives this week and going forward. May we give ourselves the space and self-care to hold different emotions. May we not feel that we have to only have one story, or only feel one thing at a time. But may we allow ourselves to feel all the feelings and to hold all the narratives and know that they are all truly part of life, and that the vision of redemption that our tradition points towards is not one where everything is simple, but rather it's one where the unity, the oneness, is a oneness where everything is integrated, but everything is integrated. All of the different opposites, all of the different narratives, all of the different feelings, they're not banished and they're not suppressed. They are integrated into a healthy wholeness that can hold them all. May it be so. May we each play our own little part towards that. Shabbat Shalom.